The latest report by the United Nations states that the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, has committed serious human rights violations in Xinjiang, which may constitute crimes against humanity. The US, UK, and EU have all responded positively to the report on September 1st. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken said, "We will continue to hold the PRC to account and call on the PRC to release those unjustly detained, account for those disappeared, and allow independent investigators full and unhindered access to Xinjiang, Tibet, and across the PRC." Reuters reports that a spokesman for the European Union's Executive Committee said, "The European Union strongly condemns human rights violations in Xinjiang and other parts of China, particularly the persecution of Uyghurs, other ethnic minorities, and religious believers." The UN Secretary-General called on China to take on board the recommendations and immediately repeal all laws, policies, and practices that discriminate against Uyghurs. British Foreign Secretary Liz Truss, who is also the frontrunner in the contest to replace Boris Johnson as Prime Minister, noted that the report includes harrowing evidence including first-hand accounts from victims that shames China in the eyes of the international community. Human Rights Watch, an international NGO, said, "This report makes the CCP's widespread human rights abuses difficult to hide. The United Nations should launch an investigation into the CCP's crimes against humanity based on this report and hold those involved accountable." On August 31st, 20 minutes before she left office, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Ms. Bachelet, released a report on human rights in Xinjiang, saying that the Communist Party's treatment of Uyghurs and members of other ethnic minorities constitutes a serious violation of human rights and may amount to international crimes, particularly crimes against humanity. The report urged the Chinese Communist Party to release all those arbitrarily detained in Xinjiang and called on countries not to deport victims and to provide them with humanitarian assistance.
The Secretary General has read the assessment that clearly identifies serious human rights violations in the Xinjiang region of China. The assessment done by the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights also confirms what the Secretary General has been saying on Xinjiang for quite some time, that human rights must be respected and that the Uyghur community needs to be respected and made feel it belongs to the country as a whole without discrimination.
In her report, Bachelet elaborated that she found a chain model of severe and undue restrictions on a wide range of human rights in Xinjiang. Some 40 victims of Xinjiang's detention camps alleged that they were subjected to torture or other forms of cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment, including sexual violence, forced sterilization, and forced labor during their detention from 2017 to 2019. And almost all victims described being subjected to forced drug injections, doping, regular blood sampling, and more.
It has been 5 years. China kills our young people, leaves our children orphaned. So what they, the United Nations, do now is not enough. If there was humanity in the world, China wouldn't do this much.
This report shouldn't have come in mid-2022. There was a need for urgent investigation following the report in 2019 because this is not a situation that can be put on hold. When a nation is destroyed, it is not appropriate for humanity to watch them being destroyed for a couple of years. The CCP rejected the report, and a foreign ministry spokesman responded by repeating previous statements that the report was fabricated by anti-China forces based on false information and lies, and interfered in China's internal affairs. The so-called assessment report you mentioned was planned and manufactured by the US and some Western forces, and it's completely illegal and invalid. The report is a collection of false information. It's a political tool to serve the purpose of the US. The Secretary General of Amnesty International said China could not accuse the report of biased facts.
The fact that this particular High Commissioner is releasing that report, I think, testifies to the importance of the findings and to the fact that China or other actors cannot accuse that report of being biased. Of course, they will accuse it of having biases, of being the product of Western influence. But I think it's going to be much more difficult for China to hold that line.
The UN report has drawn international attention, but many people were disappointed by the report's failure to use the term genocide. Chinese human rights lawyer Wu Shao-ping said, "It is disappointing that the report has lowered the tone and characterized it as a possible crime against humanity when the international community believes that the CCP has already committed genocide." German scholar Zhenguo En, who has studied Xinjiang, also tweeted that the report is not perfect and that much of the available supporting evidence was not used. He also said it was a waste to postpone the report because of Bachelet's visit to China.